Hi, and welcome to your virtual video consultation for the Love Therapy Center. We like to do a consultation either by video or phone, and now we're offering this virtual video consultation just as a way for you to be able to get to know us a little bit more, to get a feeling for how it might go, and ask any questions. I hope I'm going to be able to answer any questions that you have in this video. And if I don't, please feel free to schedule that free phone or video consultation, and we can definitely cover any other questions that you might have. I'm Yaji Tramontini, and I am the founder of Love Therapy Centers, and also an EMDR practitioner, which I feel is very important because it is a very key aspect of the work that we do. And I have a master's degree from the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology and an undergraduate from Boston University. I'm highly analytical. I started my undergraduate degree as an engineering major, and I'm also super metaphysical and very interested in lots of different types of healing techniques, including shamanism and Eastern philosophies, Buddhist psychologies, Jungian psychology, and also very interested in how it scientifically works. Love therapy is really the process of self-love and how to become more aligned and accepting of all aspects of yourself. And really, it's when you are in a place of self-awareness, self-knowledge, and most of all, self-acceptance and self-love, then your interaction with the world is so much easier, especially in relationships. In fact, I've had many people come in and do the relationship therapy and learn the method, which is actually in the communication guide, and that's a free download. And after they've learned the method and been able to apply the tools, they've taken that work to their business place and applied it there as well. And I've gotten lots of great feedback. And so because of that, I'm expanding and offering services to businesses as well. There's Jungian, which is has an aspect of shadow projection, the collective unconscious, and how we all tend to fall into certain patterns, the mother or the lover or the beloved. So these are different symbolic roles that we unconsciously will start to inhabit and then become as the connection to the collective unconscious. Then there are Eastern philosophies, which have to do with mindfulness, meditation, really slowing down and really connecting to yourself in the moment. I have a meditation that I offer to clients frequently where I'll walk my clients through just getting in touch with all of the different senses, because when you pay attention to your senses, that's when you really are drawn into the moment. And that is essentially mindfulness. The list is really exhaustive, and I'm super fascinated by metaphysical aspects of life and healing and spirit. In fact, my master's degree is transpersonal counseling psychology, which is basically spiritual counseling psychology. So it really incorporates spirit in whatever way that fits for you. And it can fit in many different, like if you're Catholic or Christian, it fits. So it's just incorporating those beliefs into the psychology of it. So it is mixing spiritual psychology, holistic psychology with traditional talk therapy, in addition to wrapping in a lot of the current research that's being done, peer-reviewed, really no joke research that's actually proving some of these metaphysical concepts as truth. So I love that aspect. It's so fun to talk about, some of the studies that they're doing in DNA and epigenetics, and how you can inherit your parents' stress and their experiences, your grandparents' stress and their experiences can be passed on through your genes. And that's what epigenetics is looking at. And so I'm fascinated by studies and research like that, and often will wrap that in. And one of the reasons that's important is that on a more metaphysical plane, that when you are really truly believing something, then it makes you heal. It causes you to heal, like the placebo effect. The power that we have as individuals, I personally believe, is absolutely untouched. We are powerful beyond imagination when we can get into a right place of alignment and acceptance with ourselves, and really getting the emotions aligned with the belief. So when you believe you're going to be successful and you feel it in your heart, you are going to knock it out of the ballpark. And I could probably talk about this all day long because I've done so many different trainings, because I'm just fascinated. So there's another one that it's from the Heart Math Institute, and they are really fascinating because they are doing peer-reviewed experiments and research on the intelligence of the heart. And their research is showing that the heart has an intelligence that's completely separate from the brain. In fact, there's a little girl received a heart transplant, and after she received that heart, she started having nightmares. So her mom took her to a psychiatrist to have her evaluated. And the psychiatrist actually told her it wasn't nightmares, they were memories. And in fact, she was having memories of being murdered. And what happened is she received the heart of a little girl who had been murdered. And this is actually, you can Google it. She went to the police. She described the man. They found the man. He confessed. It's there. So there is an intelligence in the heart that is super fascinating and completely separate. So they're doing research on that. And the research is that there is also a magnetic field that is emitted from the heart, that right now the equipment can measure up to 6 feet, but that's only because of the equipment. They theorize that it can, the emanation, the magnetic extension of your heart can really reach globally, or maybe even out into the universe, to the moon, who knows, right? But that we're all affecting each other on that level, and our heart is affected by our breath and our ability to get ourselves in a state of calm and ease. Every individual who comes in is slightly different, so we'll tailor the different orientations specifically to each individual. I don't really think there's any specific. In general, our clients tend to range in age from 20s to 60s, so it kind of runs the gamut. It's an adult mostly population, and I've also worked with people on the spectrum, and I've also worked with people who had Lyme disease. And the majority of the people who have come to the Love Therapy Center are couples, because it is relationship therapy. And at the same time, it's very appropriate for individuals, because the couples work is really about getting right with you. You got to get right with you, understand you, accept you. And then from that place, you're much more able to communicate. So that's why it's really helpful in a workplace environment as well. For people, it can range. If there was a single event trauma, it can range from one actual reprocessing session, but usually requires a prep session and then a forward pacing session. So you kind of envision your life the way you want it to be. So 3 sessions is the shortest it could be. I would say probably most of my sessions end on a high note, a good 90-something%. Sometimes we start to open things up and there's so much there that it does leave on a raw place. And at the same time, because I usually will do that with EMDR, most of the time I will hear from clients that they feel raw and lighter. Usually one EMDR actual session, you can feel a shift. Now, that doesn't solve all your problems overnight. Usually there's a couple of sessions beforehand to get set up for the EMDR, especially if there's been any kind of severe trauma, because if there's severe trauma, EMDR is really intense. It actually has the potential to do damage, so it has to go on into gently. There are waivers that I'll have you sign if you want to do EMDR, similar to what you sign when you get surgery, because when you do this, while it is really powerful, and in my opinion, in studies and everything that I've studied, probably the most powerful form of change. It also, it can leave you feeling raw. You don't want to go to work after. You want to plan an easy day, drink lots of water, same as if you did surgery, because it's really getting in there and digging out the roots of what's causing problems. And so again, at the end of an EMDR session, after we've done all the prep and made sure that you're in a good place, you have your resources, and it's a safe environment to do EMDR, then we do the actual processing, reprocessing. So it's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it brings up a lot of stuff, brings up a lot of emotion, and at the same time, you're going to feel raw at the end, but so much lighter. Generally, our change method is EMDR. There are some other change methods that we'll use if there's severe trauma. We'll go into it with some other less kind of non-invasive methods to kind of prep, to build up ego strength and resiliency towards that trauma before going into the EMDR. There's a process from neuro-linguistic programming that's called mental and emotional release. That's basically a timeline. There's another process called heart therapy, holistic and rapid transformation, which really involves visualizations, going back, kind of redoing things in the way they should have been, just visualization. But that's all. They're both really powerful in and of themselves, but they're not as really in your face as EMDR is. And it can be, if there's lifelong trauma, then that stuff needs to be reprocessed in order to be released. It needs to be visited so it can release. And that's what EMDR does. And at the same time, every reprocessing session has benefit. So it's as long as you want to take it, as far as you want to take it. Yes, we do have several other associates that are part of the Love Therapy Center, and they're all very highly educated, trained in EMDR, because that is such an important method in my view. So anyone who does join Love Therapy Center is trained in EMDR, and also has the metaphysical orientation, and really we work very closely together. Oftentimes I'll have couples come in, and I'll do the couples therapy, and they'll do some of the individual work, or vice versa, so that you're really getting a whole teamwork approach, and where we're really close with one another and working with each other to make sure that you get the best quality of care possible. Love Therapy Center currently has offices in San Diego and San Francisco, a little satellite office in San Jose, and we are also now post-COVID online. So we're offering services to all of California, and it's really been cool to experience how powerful online therapy actually can be. And it's so much easier than having to get in your car and drive to the therapy office and get out. And that can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to more. Sometimes I've had people traveling 45 minutes to get to the office. So round trip, that's an hour and a half, where you just click and here you are. We work with insurance as third-party providers, and what that boils down to is our clients will pay up front, and then we provide what's called a super bill at the end of every month. And then you would submit that to your insurance for reimbursement. Most insurance, PPO insurance, will reimburse a certain percentage of the fee. We do have packages, and the packages usually will range anywhere from $5 off per session to $25 off per session. Our current packages are offering $20 off per session for a package of 10, and $10 off per session for a package of 5. And we do have different associates in the organization that have different fees and different sliding scales, and so there's some flexibility there. Really, really, really good question. It is confidential. Therapy is protected the same way your medical records are protected, the same way your appointments with an attorney would be protected. Therapy is protected under HIPAA. That's Health Information Protection Privacy Act. And everything is confidential. In fact, not to be morbid, but if you told us that you killed somebody, that would be confidential. I know, I kind of thought that was a little weird too, but if you tell us you are going to kill somebody, then we have to break your confidence in order to keep people safe. So there are a few exceptions to the confidentiality rule, and that is just really to keep people safe. And so if you tell us that you are abusing a child or an elderly, someone you know is abusing a child or an elderly, and or if you have plans to hurt yourself or other people, then we are required actually by law to break your confidence and keep people safe.